Excellent. I see people are joining now. Apologies for the delay. I think I might have made a clicking error on my end. A number of you have joined. Excellent. Perfect. I see some of you from yesterday's Onboarding 101 class, so welcome back. I'll move this over here. So how many of us are there? Let's see. That's a good amount of us. Excellent. All right, so we'll get started. It's 2:03 p.m. My name is Andrew. I'm a customer success manager. And this is Onboarding 102. We're going to be testing this out to see if this works for everyone, and then perhaps we'll do more. I am going to enable the option for those of you who would like to speak. So don't feel that you must, but I will also enable the chat should you prefer to type there. Primarily, we're going to just focus on just a bit more of the advanced aspects of onboarding. So those of you who are just getting started and finished your onboarding 101, this would be just kind of the natural next step in your process of learning. So let's just go ahead and enable the chat. There you go. Should already have that chat option open. And then if you have questions, feel free to toss those into the Q&A. I will try to save that for the end, but I mean, I will keep an eye on it throughout. So perhaps I'll just open that up over here. Lots of windows open now. There we go. Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and enable everyone's option to speak. Again, don't feel like you must, just giving you the option. Oops, sorry about that. I just requested someone to unmute. You don't have to follow that request. And what else do we miss anyone? There's a faster way to do this, but bear with me. There we go. I think that's everyone. So you can all use the chat if you like. Otherwise, you can use your microphones if you like. Let's be respectful of one another's time to speak. And then otherwise, we'll just jump right in. So I've got Stitch open here. For those of you who have not downloaded it, I would recommend you do so. And I will actually bring up the page in the chat so that you can download that. Stitch is our software that we let you download. It's absolutely free. So let me put that in chat for you. So this here is Stitch. We covered what you would use Stitch for in our 101 class, but there's a bit more you can do with Stitch that we didn't cover in 101. And one of those elements would be adding drone panos. I know a couple of you requested this a few weeks ago in our 101 class. So we're going to touch on adding drone panos, or as we call them, user panos to your iGUIDE, so that you can see well, your drone imagery once your iGUIDE's published. I'm actually going to jump to what it would look like first, and then we'll jump into Stitch and how you would add them. So I believe I've got my examples up over here. Yes, I do. So this is our iGUIDE. It's been completed. You can zoom in and look at the floor plan. But if we wanted to, we're going to zoom out a little bit. We've got our drone images over here. So you can incorporate your drone shots as part of your iGUIDE. That's perfectly acceptable. And you can add as many as you like. So you can have, one over on this corner, perhaps another there. You name it, you can get creative with it, and you can just add them, and they'll be, you can click on them on the floor plan over here. And it really does add a nice element to the iGUIDE. Just checking the chat here. Perfect. Good, good, good. Just a few more of you have joined, and so I'm just going to allow you to speak should you choose. All right. All right, so now that you see what it looks like, I'll just do one more example from a residential real estate perspective. We've got an aerial shot over here, a drone panel. So this would be your drone shot. All right, so how would you implement this into your iGUIDE? So let's bring this back over here. We'll bring Stitch up. So you've got your drone, you've taken your drone panel, now you're in Stitch. Currently on Stitch, not allowing me to add my scans. Okay, let's back up. We'll do a quick overview of some 101, and then we'll go back there. So if you're trying to open up your project in Stitch, two things you want to keep in mind. Number one, always transfer your files from the USB directly onto your local device. Don't try and operate your project from the USB. It's a lot of read and write going on the USB. You don't want to run the risk of any data corruption. So just copy the files directly from USB onto your local device, and then safely eject the USB, put it back in your Planix, because then you know when you go out the next day, your USB is already in your Planix and you're good to go. Then your project's already on your local machine, so you can just open it up from there. If you're having issues opening it, this is our project name. If I've double clicked it and I see the floor names, I've gone too far. And if I've gone even further, you're going to see all the panel folders. You've gone too far again. So back up, single left click on the project title, and then click select folder. If I were to try and do it by clicking on one of the floors or just leaving it like this, say I click main floor, I'm going to get an error. So I'm just going to go back. I'm going to click open. I'm just going to go back one level. If you're on Windows, just go up, left click on the project name, and then click select folder. Let me know if that solves your issue that you're running into right now. I'll wait for I'll keep an eye on your response. In the meantime, I'll keep going over here. So once you've opened up your project in Stitch, and again, you don't have to use Stitch, but if you do want to add user panels, Stitch is where you're going to do that. Simply, let's just shrink these down here. Simply right click on the floor that you'd like to add the user panel to. We're going to use that on the main floor. We're going to right click it and we're going to click add user panel. Then what you do is you locate your drone image. And I'm just throwing them in this folder here. You're going to select one of them. You're going to click open. And what it's going to do is it's going to generate a new panel, but you'll notice that there's no LiDAR data. So you can see here, this is a shot from the Planix itself. So there is LiDAR data. But if I navigate to this one here, there's no LiDAR data. It's just the image. So we're going to go to the main floor and we're going to click on our user image. So this is the one we just added. So if I click on the move, rotate, scans button here, or you can press G on your keyboard, you can actually manipulate it. So if you left click, you can click and drag, or you can right click, holding down the right clicker, and you can rearrange the orientation of that drone panel. So you'll notice that the LiDAR data, or rather not the LiDAR data, you'll notice that the green line here is facing in this direction. But if this is the home that we're representing, we want to make sure that when we're looking at the home, that the green line is actually oriented at the home itself. So right now we'd want to, this is not the correct home. I'm just using an image from another example. So if this arrow here was pointing away from the home, you'd want to make sure that you right click and drag it so that it's pointing at the home and correlates with where the property is located. You can have multiple drone panels, so you can have, one in each corner, and you can certainly do that. Okay. All right. Any questions about drones, drone panels at the moment? I can cover that as in a possibly different way, if necessary. Feel free to throw your questions into the Q&A or into the chat. Q&A is easier to organize, but I'm opening this up. I prefer that this is more conversational than me just speaking to you for the next 45 minutes, roughly. That said, carry on. So in Stitch, we've covered adding a drone panel. Now, what if you do not want to have a space represented? So let's say you've scanned a basement and it's quite messy and your client doesn't want it visible. You can actually highlight the scans. So in Stitch, you would left click on the first scan, hold down Shift, highlighting all of the scans, right click and click Hide Selected Scans in iGUIDE. You'll notice that they're all now in red. So they will still be drafted, but none of the panoramic views will be visible once the iGUIDE is published. So the nice thing about that is you'll still get the floor plan. So from the floor selector tool, so if I were to go back to our floor plan here, let's just go to our example. We could have a basement with no visual aspects, just the floor plan. So perhaps it's a nice large space that you do want to have as part of your presentation on your real estate listing, but you don't want the visuals. So that is also an option, and you can do that in Stitch. You can also do it on the portal, but we're just going to cover Stitch for now. So just highlight them all, hide them, no one will see them. And you can do that for each of the floors if you like. Do you want to have one of the floors? You want to have the floors shown, but you can hide the panels themselves. Now, if you want to hide the floors entirely, you can also do that. If I were to hide the floors in Stitch, for example, I hid this one here, what would happen is that it will look like this. Let's go to our default edit view here. And let's say we wanted to hide the basement entirely. We just click on this pencil. If we're doing this post, we're going to click hide, confirm, and save. And then in a preview sense, what that would look like is the basement would not be visible. So someone who's viewing the iGUIDE will only see the main second floor, and in this case, the shed. So in Stitch, you can actually hide entire floors. Always nice to just have everything however you like it before you submit it, but you can always make these changes after once it's uploaded to the portal as well. All right, outdoor scans. Now, there are two main ways that people will scan outdoor spaces. The first way is when you're on site in survey, they'll either continue from the main floor. So let's find our main floor here. And we're going to expand this just so we can see the visuals as well. This is our basement. Someone's messing with my floor orientation here, and that's perfectly fine. This is our main floor. So we've been renaming things. That's all right. So this is our front door here. You'd want to have a scan with the front door open. That way it'll see into the space and have that overlapping data. And then you'd want to move along the perimeter. So you see my cursor here on screen. You'd want to have a scan here, one at the corner, and you'd want to move around the perimeter just along where my cursor is. That will allow the data to align with the already existing LiDAR data. So that is one way you can do it. So you want to be about maybe 6 feet from the wall and just follow along the perimeter of the property. If you want to go further out, you can do that. I would recommend doing that after you've scanned the perimeter because it does build that foundation of alignment. Another way that people will do this is they'll create a new floor. So in survey, actually I'll pull up survey for you just so you can see that as well. I'll pull it over here. This is our simulator. So in survey, people would just create a new floor and they would just call it outdoor or exterior. You would create, and then similar concept, you would scan around the perimeter of the property and be about 6 feet from the perimeter wall, and then just move along from there. However, if you submit the data with the exterior shots being on its own floor, it's not going to be drafted. So you still do need to use Stitch. So when you load up Stitch, you'll have your outdoor floor. All you have to do is just simply grab all of the panels and then just drag them to their respective floors. So I believe basement is our main floor, so I'm going to rename that. Okay, now our outdoor shots have been moved here. So you can actually get rid of that outdoor floor. And then they're probably not aligned because I didn't actually set anything up there. And so we can move them as necessary. So if you hold down right click, you can actually select, or rather, if you select all of the panels, so left click, hold down shift, left click, and you can highlight all of the scans in that sequence. Hold down right click, and you can actually change the orientation. And then holding down left click, you can move them wherever you need to. And then you can align them wherever they belong. And then you'll have your outdoor shots. To see what it looks like at the end, we would be looking at something like this. We have our outdoor shots here. Now these are disabled. You can see that they're in red. And so you can't actually navigate around the property. All right, we've got some questions coming in. So let's take a look at those. So Robert, your process right now, that is the quickest way. That is the quickest way at the moment. That's all I can say about that for now, but your process is exactly as we've recommended. It's in our training materials as well. So if you're wanting to edit some photos, you just open your folder and we're going to bring this over here and you can edit your H1 or H2 files. And then you can use, Photoshop or any photo editing program you want, and then just bring them back into the project. So that is the fastest way for now if you need to blur anything. If for some reason, however, you've noticed that you need to do some blurring and the project is currently live, one of the things that I would recommend you do, let's just say we're going to go to the second floor, and let's just say there's some sensitive information in the office here. The first thing you'd want to do is disable the panels in the office and hit save. That way no one can navigate to that space. You don't need to lock the whole iGUIDE down. Just kind of intuitively lock it down so that no one's able to virtually enter in that space. Once you've disabled them, go up to your panel, oh, sorry, here we go, replace panel images and navigate to that space. So we're going to go to the second floor, go to your office, and then of course you can download the images here, do your edits that you need to do, and then you can upload the changed versions here. Just make sure that the file name stays the same and that the resolution stays the same. This might actually be faster than doing it before you upload it to the portal. So if you're doing these changes in Stitch, which is great that you're doing it that way, maybe it's faster. But if you want to get it sent off to us as soon as possible, perhaps in Stitch, it might be faster for you to, let's say it's these scans here, just simply hide them, and show everything else that you need to show. Okay. So those are all hidden so that no one's going to see that sensitive info. You send it off to us, and then you just simply do those changes after it's been published. That way you can move beyond the bottleneck, let's say, of your time editing the images and getting it drafted. Hopefully that answers your question, Robert, regarding blurring images. Okay, so question about a very unique space, a museum. Okay, let's see. How do we separate spaces? Oh, this is great. So you want to show them as separate rooms. So who is this? Elizabeth, great question. So just so that I'm presenting this in a way that's going to fit your desired outcome, you wouldn't want it to be a complete floor plan. You would actually want each area, so example, fossil or local history or elephants, they would have their own floor. So what you could do is in survey, which I've brought far away now, there it is. When you're capturing the space, keep it all under the same project. We call it, museum or the address for the museum. But then each floor or each exhibit, create a new floor for each exhibit. The outcome of that will be something like this, where you'll have, elephant exhibit, fossil exhibit, local history exhibits. They'll be their own floors. However, there's a way in which we can connect them based on having overlapping data. So when you're capturing on site, what you want to make sure you do is take a scan, of course, of the entire exhibit. But as you're leaving that exhibit and you're entering the new one, take a scan as the final scan of that exhibit, move to the next floor, and take a scan in the exact same spot. And then each floor will have their own pano that has an overlapping space from one to the next. And answered. Perfect. Robert, I'm glad that answered your question. Yeah, and let me know if that process works for you, Robert, in the future, if we do one of these again, where if you hide them in Stitch, submit it so that you get it drafted as soon as possible, and then you edit them after the fact. Let me know if that works as a faster flow, because I'd like to recommend it for others. But it sounds like what you're doing is exactly what we've always recommended, and maybe that is just the fastest way to do it. Elizabeth, let me know if you have any other questions about that space, because that's going to be a great one. When you're at the museum, I'm sure you're aware of this, but if not, one thing you'll certainly want to make use of is our real-time tagging feature. So when you're at the museum and you're capturing the exhibit, be sure to use this tag here to document any unique spaces. So if there's any bits of information that you want to capture, say you can use your color coding system for your own organizational purposes. You can add in text, but ultimately you'd want to use this camera feature here. So when you're using the real-time tag, especially in your unique scenario for the museum, it'll open up your camera and you can take a nice high resolution image of whatever it is that you're tagging. So I can't click on it because it's a simulation, but if you click on this, it prompts you with a request to access your camera. Take a picture. So let's just say there's an info piece about, whatever it is that you're looking at. You click next, and we're going to tap on the screen where that image, whatever it is that we're documenting, it's going to place a little tag there. We're going to click next. It's going to ask you, where is this tag? Is it along the wall? Is it really close to the camera? Is it maybe somewhere in between? You're going to click and drag wherever that item is that you want to document. So we're going to say it's along the wall. We're going to click save. What that allows for you to do is have a nice, this isn't going to have an image here, but a nice high resolution image would pop up during the actual walkthrough experience. So let me pull this over here and go to our main floor. If you've not seen the real-time tagging or what that looks like, let's shrink this down here. I believe I might have disabled our tags in this example. No, I did not, so that's good. So let's go here. So from afar, actually, we can see that tag pulls up a nice close image of that pet feeding station. You can do this for all sorts of things. Anything you want to document. Real-time tagging is going to be an excellent feature for you in that unique space. That's a great example. I'd love to see what that looks like once you're finished. How can we update an iGUIDE with new exterior scans? Excellent question. All right, so what you'll do is you'll create a new project in Survey, which have you already captured this? Let's see. You only need the update. Okay, so let's assume you've not captured the space. So create a new project. You don't need to use the old one. So new project, perhaps you're going to call it the same address as before, and perhaps you're going to add in, update or summer scans or however you want to title it. It's up to you. But you're going to create a new project. You're going to create a new floor, and you're going to essentially do it the same way. Are you going to be scanning the indoor or just the exterior? Based on your question, I'm going to assume it's just the exterior. Hold on, let me just see if you've just outside. Yeah, that's fine. So you can call it outside. So in that sense, you'd want to have, if you don't have the original project, that's fine too. So create outside, do your scans, go around the perimeter of the home, and we're going to move this over here. Got someone's microphone with some vehicles in the background there. All right, so let's assume that it's this iGUIDE here, and we've got our exterior scans. We're going to go to request an update. Want to request an update. Are you uploading new Stitch data? So this is where you would be using Stitch. If you have the original project, and let's go with panels 1 through 40. These are the original indoor scans. These are now the outdoor scans. You can disable all of the scans for the inside if you've got the original data. So right click, hide selected scans. No one needs to see them. On the notes section here, we're going to write do not draft. You can add it a couple more times if you want to do it that way. And then really what we're going to do is we're going to make a note here. And we're going to say, outdoor scans only. And we're going to hit save. And assuming you've got the other floors, you could technically delete them. If you're going to go that route, I would make a copy of your project folder first and then work on the copied version, just so you can keep your original. But you can just leave a note saying outdoor scans only, submit it to us, and they've got the original data. If not, you've created your new project and you want to submit that data to us, just open it up in Stitch, save, export. When you get the export prompt that says create iGUIDE, do not follow that because that's going to create a new iGUIDE. You don't want to do that. All you want to do is navigate to your existing iGUIDE, request an update. Are you uploading new Stitch data? Yes, you are. It's aesthetic. You can also include an image. So if you really wanted to, this will speed up the process. You could take a screenshot of the existing floor plan and you can place where those panels belong. You shouldn't need to if you've taken them along the perimeter. You can also give a description here. These are both optional. And just drag and drop your tar data there. And then click request update. Once it's done, just make sure that you go to your edit default view and disable your old shots that are outside. Let me just check your question there. So Brendan, does that answer your question regarding outdoor shots? Create a new project in Survey, scan your outdoor shots, open them in Stitch, save, export, you got your tar data. Don't create a new iGUIDE, just simply request an update to your existing iGUIDE and they'll place those panels there. Just make sure you have enough visual context. You could do one panel with the front door open just so they can see inside. Do that one perhaps at the end and just scan around the perimeter first. Editing in Stitch before upload works fastest. Oh yeah. You're doing large properties, 1 to 600 panels. Oh yeah. Yep. Yes. That would take a while for my computer to export. So hopefully you've got something powerful. Elizabeth, great question. So if you're using the real-time tag for your museum example, the real-time images that you capture there, they are going to be part of the tar file once you export it. So I'll go back to this example here. Oh, doesn't help that I'm on the wrong section there. So these images, these were taken on site. So that image was taken while the operator was on site and took that image. So that's embedded into the files. You won't see it in Stitch, but it will be there when you have the iGUIDE exported and uploaded to the portal. So a couple more here. This is another example. Oh, let's just go over here. This is another example of a thermostat. They just put it over there, or perhaps this kitchen sink. So yeah, when you take your images on site, those are part of your exported tar file. Request an update. Bingo, perfect, excellent. So that would be charged as a Panel update. I will link you the page for updates, which you can find on the support tab of the portal. So I'll link that in the chat here, Brennan, and for everyone to see. There's links for processing fees in Canadian, US Imperial, and US metric. So just take a look at those. You would be looking at, just make sure that's the correct one. You'd be looking at the panel update fee. No problem. Can room labels be edited afterwards? Absolutely. They need to be in Dutch. Yes. Let's see. Yeah. So I just want to make sure I'm on the same page as for your question here. You've upgraded to a more powerful machine. Good. Yeah, I certainly need something for that many panels. Or at the very least, you hit export and you go and make a coffee or a full multi-course meal. Depends on how slow the machine is. All right, so changing the labels. Excellent question. So you've got your iGUIDE, which you can locate under my iGUIDE section. You're going to click on Edit. Under the General Settings, click on Edit again on the top right. We're going to scroll down. And you can see here we've got our iGUIDE with our floor plan and all these little pencil markings here. These are the options available to us to change the labels. So if I click on Living and I click on this pencil here, I can actually change the name to anything we like. I can click OK, of course, and it changes it in real time there. If I hit save, that will apply to the live version of your iGUIDE. If I wanted to hide the dimensions or the room area, I can just simply uncheck these boxes, click save. What that will affect is in the details section, they wouldn't show up there. They're still there because I haven't cleared the cache. If I were to remove the room details, then it will not appear in the details section at all. Generally speaking, people are not going to hide a room of this size. Perhaps they're going to remove the details of the wine section, or maybe not the wine section, but perhaps a laundry room or a closet would be more accurate, or a hall, because they wouldn't want it to be too cluttered in the details section here. Let's see. Let's put this back here. Okay. If you want to, you can also add in custom labels. So for example, we're going to go to our basement here, which is currently hiding. So let's unhide that. If you notice, when I uncheck that box, this floor will not be shown. So you'll see that here if that floor will just be completely hidden from the iGUIDE. So we're going to go ahead and click on show. We're going to click OK. If we wanted to add in a custom label, we're going to go to our actions tab. And we're going to click add new label. You'll see that it appears at the top here. You can click and you can drag it. Can't rotate the label at the moment, but you can label this over here. So let's just say there's something custom that you wanted to make note of. You can add in that label. And you can change the font size. And that will appear on this floor plan here, as well as the floor plan when you download the PDF. If you want to remove it, just simply delete it or just hide it entirely. Just take a quick look at the questions as they're coming in. So your question regarding the label, so I'll just bring that back up one more time here. So I'm going to add a new label. So I can left click and I can move it, but I cannot rotate it. So they're all going to be oriented in this way. The orientation of the labels is something that the drafters can do. So if you wanted to, let's go back to Stitch for a moment, because that brings up a really good point. If you do want custom labels, you can actually make note of that in Stitch. So before you submit it to us, you can actually click on this little pencil and notepad here, or click E on your keyboard, and you can add your notes on the floor plan itself. And the drafters will follow this. If you can, this is perhaps more advantageous for a larger property. So Robert, perhaps this would apply to you, but instead of putting lots of text on the floor plan itself, because if you've got a lot of notes, it could get quite busy there. So let's just remove those. You can actually just do, let's say, A, B, C, and then in the notes section or the comment section, so if we were to left click on the project title, you can actually create a legend. Kitchen, B equals whatever, C equals another room. So you can just label on the floor plan with whatever letters you'd like. So you've created an index for the, or rather a legend for the drafters to work with. So that's one way where you can add in your custom labels without it looking too busy on your floor plan when you're working in Stitch. Hopefully that helps you out, Robert, when you're organizing your data in Stitch. Let's see, another question's come in here. I'm just gonna take a look here. Yes, great point. I will bring that up. So let's say, for example, you want to see the measurements for the covered patio. So by default, it's not going to be enabled because it's an outdoor space. But if you opt to, you can actually click on that and click OK to have it represented. If we were to, oh, let's just go back down here. Let's see about our live view. I believe this one I've hidden pretty much everything I did. It's not very useful for us, is it? So let's go back to our other example. There we go. This one should have about the same. Yeah, okay. So we're going to go back to our previous example. Edit here. Yes, so if you wanted to, you'd be able to click on the pencil and show those details. Let me just make sure. Brendan, is that addressing what you were bringing up with regards to outdoor spaces? So just want to make sure that one doesn't fall off your radar. This is for, can I label them in Dutch? Good question. So our drafters are going to be working in English, but let's find out if you put an instruction at the top that said, well, they're going to label them in English. So I won't want to say that they will do this, but you could leave a note requesting, and I believe that the standard is that it is going to be in English. But if you wanted to, right beside kitchen, and you put in the equivalent name, perhaps they'll put in both, but I believe it's just going to be in English. That said, you can navigate to it and you can just change the label once it's published, and you can change it to all the appropriate names on your end. I know that could be quite time consuming, but that might be the only option for now. So in Stitch, perhaps create your legend and perhaps put the equivalent beside each one. So English first, just to help our drafters. And then if you put a request at the top to include both language options or just Dutch, perhaps that's something that they could accommodate. I don't believe so, but. Oh yeah, I mean, if you're just changing the texts once it's live, you can certainly just, let's go here. Where do we say? There's no classroom here, so we'll just use that. So yeah, you could certainly do that. And yes, to Brendan's point, you get the notice here regarding outdoor spaces. All right, let's see. Good question. So let's go here. So we're going to look at our iGUIDE. So the question is regarding iGUIDE URLs. Can you change or can you customize the iGUIDE URL for the copied versions or the duplicates, as we call them? The answer is no. So your primary iGUIDE, you can change the URL for the primary. However, for the copies, they are randomized URLs and they cannot be customized. That said, if you're hyperlinking it onto your own website or you're embedding it, you can always just hyperlink the text to anything that makes sense for you. Is there a way to send the drafters an image? Yes, absolutely, Elizabeth. Great question. So if you're submitting a complex project and you really want to give as much context as possible, the best thing to do would be to create a support ticket before you submit any data. So if you click on support and you click a create ticket, it's going to ask you to log in. If you've not logged in before, or rather, if you've not created an account before, you'll have to do that. It's not the same login as the portal account. So just bear that in mind. So just create an account and you can just let them know, hey, I've got a complex project coming up. It's a large space. It's a museum. How best can I instruct the drafters so that this gets completed to the best of everyone's abilities, really? And they'll give you some feedback from there. One of the things that you can do is you can respond to them with images and they can pass that along to the drafting team. Alternatively, you could create the iGUIDE with no data. So if we were to click on create iGUIDE, and let's say we're going to go and we're going to say, we're going to pick it as architect and engineering and construction. We're going to do a premium and we are going to enter the property address, of course. This is our museum we're going to pretend. We're going to hit select. Now, you haven't captured the data and that's okay. You can actually click on create iGUIDE. So what that's going to do, I'm going to do that right now, is it's going to create the iGUIDE with no data. So you could do this right now if you wanted to, Elizabeth, if tomorrow, for example, you're going to go and capture the space. And that will generate an iGUIDE URL. So let's pretend that this is your museum. This is your URL. Take that URL, reach out to our support team and say, hey, here's the URL for the museum that I'm going to be uploading soon. What can I do to provide context for the drafters? A number of things you could do. One of the first things you can do is you can actually click on, you can either put in the diagram into the drop here, into the drop images section. The best way is going to be through the ticket, actually. Now that I think about it, keeping it as simple as possible using the ticket system. The URL, though, creating that ahead of time is perfectly fine. And reaching out to the support team with that URL will give the context and they'll be able to stay on top of that iGUIDE. Now, if you create an iGUIDE with no data, it will automatically delete itself within 2 weeks if you've not uploaded anything. So just bear that in mind if you're going to try and time it so that you've created this URL and the ticket. You want to do it perhaps the day before you go out to capture the museum space. The nice thing about doing it this way is if you wanted to, once you've stitched all the data together, in Stitch, after you click export, it prompts you with a screen to create an iGUIDE. You would click close and you would just locate your tar data and just drop it here. The iGUIDE's already created. You don't need to create a new one. In fact, I would advise not to create a new one, assuming you want to use the URL that's already been generated. Yeah, Elizabeth, if you're really wanting to wow your clients, reach out to the support team. They're going to help you throughout the whole project. Let them know that Andrew was helping you during the 102 webinar, the onboarding 102, and perhaps we can touch base as well, and we can walk you through that process, make sure that everything is captured as it needs to be done and processed as it needs to be done, and that the final product is exactly what you're hoping for. So if you wanted to, even if you don't want to create the iGUIDE URL today, just reach out to support and let them know that you're looking to create a new iGUIDE of a museum, rather. You're most welcome. We are 2:48 p.m. Time is flying. Holy moly. Got a great amount of attendees today, which is also fantastic. Is there anything else that anyone would like covered today? I know we've kind of jumped on a couple different topics. There was no specific itinerary for today. It was really just touching on anything that we didn't get a chance to touch on for Onboarding 101. So we've got, let's call it 11 minutes free for all for any questions that hopefully we can answer. I could probably talk for another 10 minutes, but I'd rather answer your questions. Good question. Can I show or hide gallery photos in different views? Yes. So each view is going to be its own standalone iGUIDE. However, the primary iGUIDE is kind of your master copy. So if you do whatever you need to do to your master copy and then make your duplicates, those changes will be copied over. So just kind of think of it as effectively that, actually. So yeah, make all the changes you need to on your primary, make your copies, and then each copy, they're standalone. So go into your gallery and hide the images. Actually, now that you bring it up, Robert, let's go back here. Oh, this is our iGUIDE that we're gonna self-destruct in 2 weeks. So let me just move that out of the way. There we go. There we go. All right, so this is our copy here. Yes, great. I lost my train of thought there for a moment, but I'm back on track. You could create multiple versions. So let's say, in Robert, in your case, you are doing a large building. You can actually create as many duplicates as you like. And you can actually change the title. So let's just change this title to uh, uh, utility room, for example. Okay. We're going to hit save. In this duplicate version, we can hide every single panel other than the pathway that takes the person that we're sharing this to be able to navigate to the utility room. So in a building, for example, you can create multiple versions of your iGUIDE where, perhaps this version only has a pathway where panels enabled to direct someone to the utility room. Another version can have someone with a pathway or panels that directs them to the conference room or to a common space, or you name it. You can have different versions that serve different purposes. So you can get really creative with the duplicate copy options. And then to answer your question more clearly, we're going to go to edit here. We can go to the gallery, and then you can make those changes there. We're going to go to our edit view here, and we can exclude whatever it is that we want to exclude or include. Okay, great question. So we're going to go to your edit default view. The edit default view section is where you're going to spend most of your time. And if you go to edit, you'll have your images that you can include or exclude. So whatever it is that you want to show and hide, you can see them in the edit default view in the iGUIDE gallery section. So I'm going to go back here. So this is our gallery. We've got 150. We're going to click edit. So you can see all of our images here. We're not going to delete any of them. You can rearrange them here. Uh, or rather, we're going to rearrange them in the actual section to do that in the gallery. Good. And you can move them around here. So I can send it to the end or just send it one back. You are most welcome. Oh, I see a question came into the Q&A section. How do I lock the main while giving people access to the copied URL? Ooh, very good question. I'm glad that came in. Oh, that just came in. Okay, it wasn't sitting there for too long. So I'll answer that live here. So thank you for that question, Ryan. So let's say this is our primary. We want to lock it and make sure that no one can access it, but we do want to share it so that someone else can make use of it. So what we would do is, I'm going to delete this one. So what we would do is, I've got this one protected. So protected iGUIDE, it's not accessible to anyone unless they are added as a viewer. So we've got this here protected. So you're not going to be able to search it on Google. No one can open it, again, unless, of course, they're added as a viewer. So if you've added in someone's email address and they've got a portal account, when they get the URL, they're going to be requested to log in. However, you don't want that. You want to be able to share this with someone without them having to log in, but you also don't really want someone searching for it. So what you would do is you would lock the primary. So let's just pretend that for a moment that it's actually unlocked. So you would lock it. So number one, you'd have to remove protected if you want to share it with someone who doesn't need a login. So one of two things. Let's go with the first one. We're going to pretend that this is not protected. We're going to click lock and we're going to click create a new unlisted view. And you're going to share this URL with them. This URL would work, again, provided that it's not protected. Okay. Now, it's made an exact copy of the first one, which is protected. If you want to keep the primary protected, then what you can do is you can lock it, keep it protected, go to your duplicate copy or create a duplicate, go to that copy, click on edit, go to your general settings, edit again. We're going to go down, we're going to remove the protected status. We're going to hit save. We're going to hit confirm. And we should be able to view this iGUIDE. There you go. So you'd be able to take that URL. So again, I'm going to go back here. We've got both of our iGUIDEs listed. This one's protected and locked. So this is the one that people would, this is, of course, this is the first one you're going to get. Perhaps it's got the address associated with it. You don't want that, of course. You've made a copy of it. You removed protected status and you've unlocked it. You can even go further. You can go to edit in the general settings, edit again. You can change the name. So in case the title is the property address, perhaps you're going to use, case ID number, whatever helps you keep track of it. You can also set the expiration date. So let's say you want to share it with someone, perhaps a contractor, and you say, I want this to expire next Friday. It's automatically going to be locked on Friday. And then you can go further and you can say, hide the map. We're going to do that. We don't want the map shown. Perhaps there's other features you want to show or hide. That's up to you. And that's pretty much it. You can have that. You can also hide, all these extra settings here. We don't want the details tab to show up. So it's just the virtual walkthrough. And again, you can also customize the panels that are visible or not during that version. So then we hit save. And then you've got your URL down here, which is randomized URL. Just simply copy it. And there you go. Case ID 1234 with only a few panels enabled. You're most welcome, Ryan. Hopefully that fully answers your question. Very common. Excellent. Okay, I'm glad. Yeah, very common in the insurance space, for example. you see me looking intently, I'm waiting for the steps from Elizabeth's comment. I really welcome the feedback. And don't worry, I won't end the webinar at exactly 3 if you're still typing. So 102 class, we will make available. I will upload it as soon as possible. Share but protect and hide versus share, protect and hide versus. Okay, yeah, I see what you're. Yep, very helpful. Okay, Robert, that's great feedback. And Elizabeth, good point. Let me see if I'm going to add that to my list of things, content for me to create, because these are the questions that I'd like to answer ahead of time for others. So thank you for that. Share but protect and hide. So what you're asking about, if I can make sure that I'm on the same page as you, is you have your primary iGUIDE. You want to be able to have kind of the steps for how do we share this but keep it protected versus hide it only being no one can search it other than yourself as the owner of the iGUIDE. Is that more or less correct? Okay. Or similar combinations. Okay. That is good feedback. I will add that to my list and hopefully something comes out sooner than later. Okay. Excellent. All right. It is almost 3 p.m. Thank you everyone for attending today. This is the first, hopefully, of many Onboarding 102 classes. We have the Onboarding 101 classes every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Perhaps we'll be having more of these 102 classes. And stay tuned. We'll let you know. And I'll be posting on the forum once I know if we will be doing one of these classes and when they'll be. So thank you everyone for attending and have fun out there capturing iGUIDEs. Bye for now. You enjoy your drink, Robert.